Hey everybody, today I'm going to review Spider-Man Far From Home, sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming back in 2017. We have now entered the 23rd installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and also the end of Phase 3. I have always been a fan of Spider-Man ever since I was a kid. I remember watching Spider-Man the animated series back in the 90s and read a few Spider-Man comic books. For my opinion on the Spider-Man movies, the first two Spider-Man movies, directed by Sam Raimi, are fantastic, and Spider-Man 2 so far is still the best Spider-Man movie of all time. Spider-Man 3, I actually thought it was pretty good and enjoyable to watch, even though it did have its flaws, and I understand why a lot of people are disappointed in that film. As for the two Amazing Spider-Man movies starring Andrew Garfield, the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, in my opinion, is not bad, but not my cup of tea. While Amazing Spider-Man 2, forget it. I really do not care for that movie. Spider-Man Homecoming, on the other hand, I think that is the Spider-Man reboot movie done right, with a much lighter tone, had a lot of cool action scenes, and it has humor. The animated film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse that came out last Christmas was a huge surprise for me, and I think it's one of the most fun and greatest animated films I had ever seen. It is also one of the few good animated movies made by Sony Pictures Animation. Anyway, I am very interested and excited to see this new Spider-Man movie. I saw it in IMAX and it's fantastic. The most action-packed and excellent Spider-Man movie I had ever seen. And I'm definitely going to tell you why I love this movie without any spoilers. The story of this film took place after the events of Avengers Endgame. Spider-Man has continued to save the world until he decided to take a break by taking a school trip to Europe with his teachers, friends, and classmates. However, while they're on Europe, they are being attacked by those mysterious creatures called the Elementals. That is until they have been saved by a super-powered man named Mysterio. This caused Spider-Man to be recruited by both Nick Fury and Mysterio on a mission to fight and stop those elementals, only to find out that there's a shocking twist, which I will not get too much into detail. I find the story of this film to be pretty good, even though there are few silly moments. Much like Spider-Man Homecoming, it has that similar tone of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but with superheroes. I also find it interesting that unlike the previous Spider-Man movies, where it focuses too much on New York City, this Spider-Man movie is more about traveling to Europe. The special effects in this film are very good and creative. I really like the motion capture of Spider-Man's suit and Mysterio, the creature elements, the explosions, the aircrafts, some of the scientific inventions, and some of the environments are all used in CGI. The cities in Italy, Netherlands, and United Kingdom are very nice to look at, especially it feels like I'm on vacation. The action scenes in this film are so intense and action-packed to watch. I had a very good time seeing the fight scenes and the rescuing scenes. Now for the acting, directing, and music. Tom Holland, as always, did a wonderful job playing Spider-Man. Spider-Man, of course, is a superhero that is good at shooting webs, fighting his enemies, saving people, and cracks some jokes. In my opinion, Tom Holland is the best actor that has ever played Spider-Man since Tobey Maguire, and I think he did better than Andrew Garfield. Even though Andrew Garfield is a great actor, I just do not care for his version of Spider-Man. Then there's Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who has been in movies like October Sky, Donnie Darko, The Day After Tomorrow, Brokeback Mountain, Zodiac, Prince of Persia, Prisoners, and Everest. Did a wonderful job playing that guy with superpowers who has been fighting the elements with the help of Spider-Man. I will not give anything away, but Mysterio is not the person that you think he is. Although Mysterio is a villain in the comics, cartoons, and video games. Coming back from Spider-Man Homecoming is May Parker, played by Marisa Tomei, Ned Lenz, played by Jacob Batalon, MJ, played by Zendaya, Flash Thompson, played by Tony Ravioli, who is from the Grand Budapest Hotel, Roger Harrington, played by Martin Starr, and Happy Hogan, played by Jon Favreau. May Parker is, of course, Spider-Man's aunt, who is aware that her nephew Peter Parker is Spider-Man and wants him to be Spider-Man more so he can save the world and help people. I did find it funny that unlike Aunt May in the comics, the cartoons, and the previous Spider-Man movies, where she's an old lady, this version of Aunt May seems more middle-aged and kind of attractive. Ned Leeds is Spider-Man's best friend and also one of the funniest characters in a Marvel film. MJ is one of Spider-Man's classmates and a new love interest. Although she did kind of reminds me of Daria from Beavis and Butthead and her own spin-off show, I felt that she's a much better female character than Vulture's daughter from Homecoming. Flash Thompson is Spider-Man's bully rival. Even though Flash Thompson in the previous Spider-Man projects, where he's pretty much a jock, this version of Flash Thompson is more like a snobby rich dude and a comedic jerk, much like Biff Tannen from Back to the Future. Roger Harrington is one of Spider-Man's teachers that join in a school trip to Europe. Happy Hogan in this film continues to look after Spider-Man and wanted him to help him save the world. Julius Dell, played by J.B. Smoove, is also one of Spider-Man's teachers and Chapter 1 on his school trip to Europe. Also coming back are Nick Fury, played by Samuel Jackson, and Maura Hill, played by Cobie Smulders. Nick Fury and Maura Hill are both part of S.H.I.E.L.D. and in this film recruit Spider-Man to save the world from evil. John Watts still did a great job directing the Spider-Man movie as he did with Spider-Man Homecoming, especially he made films that are so lighthearted. The music composed by Michael Giacchino sounds very super and excited to listen to. So overall, this is one of the best Marvel superhero movies I had ever seen. While it's not really that perfect, I will say this, that I loved this Spider-Man movie more than Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man 3. It's definitely better than the two Amazing Spider-Man movies. Along with Spider-Man 1 and 2 and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, it is one of the best Spider-Man movies of all time. It is also, in my opinion, the second best superhero movie I saw this year after Avengers Endgame. Well, now that Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is over, next year we will enter Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you're a fan of Spider-Man, go see it. Oh, and be sure to stay on the mid and after credits. I will not tell you what happened, but there is a big surprise. So I give this movie 4.5 out of 5 nuclear bombs.